All right, we're live on those two spots. Let me make sure we're going live everywhere. There we go. Hello and happy Thursday. Welcome to our Purse Strings Lunch and Learn. It is August, so we are talking about all things stay-at-home moms this month, which has been a ton of fun. And as everyone knows, Purse Strings is here to provide financial education, get those tips, knowledge nuggets. But when you're ready to go put things in transition or transaction, we have top tier financial professionals who love to serve the female market, really specialize in that. And we call those our Purse Strings approved professionals. Jennifer here is one of them. And so we are so excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
Before we jump into more stay-at-home mom, great information, would you share a little bit of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm Jennifer Perri, and I have been in the financial services industry for about 20 years as a financial consultant and a coach. I work with all things women, all things money. I coach in 4 different areas: divorce, empowerment, mindset, and money. And I absolutely love what I do. And I'm really happy to be on here today to give some tips and share some information and hopefully help people.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We're very excited. Anyone tuning in, feel free to jump in with any questions or comments as always. But otherwise, we're just going to get started. And basically, overarching theme is it's so important to stay in the financial conversation as a stay-at-home mom. I'm just going to launch it there, and you can tell us why.
So, and if you all see my eyes going this way, I was just telling Maggie I have so much information I want to share. So I'm going to just be referencing back and forth. I'm not watching television or anything else. But it's very, very important for stay-at-home moms to stay involved in their household finances and to not expect or really allow their spouse to kind of take control. And I say allow very gingerly because I'm not coming at it like where some people are in a situation where they do have one spouse that handles one thing and the other that handles the other. But I just want you to stay engaged in the conversation. That's what I want you to always be involved in. And I like to often remind my moms out there that a man is not a financial plan. So you cannot rely on him. Because I work on the other end of it too. I work with a lot of divorcees. I work with a lot of widows. And in a lot of cases, that puts you in a situation where you're just surprised. If you're out of the conversation, it's very, very important to know where things are going on. So, and if you're not involved with your family finances, you may be surprised at some of the things that either end up in your house or parked in your driveway if you're not having conversations with your spouse about things. And you also have to make sure that you understand if you have a spouse that is just kind of wired differently than you, and they're making very risky type of investments, or they're, participating in different businesses or other ventures you have no idea about. And if you're not in that conversation, you really have only yourself to blame. So I want to make sure you understand that it's very, very important to stay involved. So I want to just share a few tips with you to really kind of help you figure, see if you're actually doing that or if you need to just make a little bit of changes. So the first thing that's really important, not only just if you're a stay-at-home mom, but just as a woman in general, is you need to understand what your money personality is. And I know sometimes people are like, I don't really know what that means. And for me, there are 5 different money personalities. You could be a combination of 2. I am a combination of 2. I am a spender and a saver. Figure that one out. I'm a spender when it comes to wanting to give gifts or make things nice for other people or go on a vacation and enjoy it, and I'm a saver when it comes to retirement and things for our grandkids and other things. So you can be a combination of money personalities, but you have to at least understand what the used personalities are. The 5 are saver, spender, a risk taker, a security seeker, and a flyer. So if you want to know what your money personality is, make sure you reach out to me after this and I'll send you over the assessment so that you can take it. But you either have a relationship with money or you don't have a relationship with money. I have female clients who are so in control of their finances, it's almost scary. And then I also have women who are just, it's like, don't talk to me about it. I don't want anything to do with it. So you either have a relationship or you don't. And a lot of that stems from the fact of if it was openly talked about when you were growing up. I know in my house it was kind of talked about, but I know my parents would talk about it, and then if one of us walked into the room, they would just stop.
Right.
So I think it's how much you were exposed in your life to having a conversation about money, having conversations about debt, if it was a taboo topic in your house or not. So it's important to understand that a lot of times when we look at the type of a relationship that we have with money, it stems from how we were exposed to it, how our friends feel about it or our parents feel about it. And for most people that I meet, they have either a somewhat difficult relationship with money and they don't really understand why, or they believe a lot of myths about money and they just went along with it because somebody who is important in their life said, well, this is what you need to believe. So it's really just having a good understanding of what your money personality is, and also making sure that you're in a positive money mindset. And those are all things that, as we continue to talk, if something sticks out to you, I'm here to help. But I definitely encourage you to get your money personality and figure out what it is, because it can change over time, especially once you realize how you have a relationship with money. So the second thing,
I just want to jump in here and just kind of, reiterate that, just because the money mindset is so important. And I see in some of these conversations how we kind of fall into line of the way our parents handled the money, or we saw them as kids handle the money when we were younger. So we do that same thing, even though as kids, we had no idea what they were really doing. That's a whole different conversation. So we kind of have to look at our own beliefs, like you said, because there are a lot of things we've been told that are just not true. And we have to break that down. And so that's a great starting spot for anyone, really.
Well, I appreciate that. And you're right. I mean, I literally have worked with women who have had zero exposure to money. Mm-hmm. And they went from having zero exposure to it at home with their parents into a marriage and a relationship where they had zero exposure to it because that's what they learned at home, and now here they are. And then they end up in a divorce and they have no idea. So it's kind of breaking some cycles. It's getting in different mindsets, but it all goes back to how do you relate with money? And assessments really help you with that.
Definitely.
The second thing that I instill in all my female clients, regardless of what we're talking about, is you need to know your worth. And I say that to stay-at-home moms all the time because they feel like they don't have one. They feel like they're not contributing to the household. They know they're helping with some things here and there, but you have no idea how priceless you are to your family. Well, let me just put it this way. You might have a little bit of an idea if you look at salary.com, because salary.com says for everything that a stay-at-home mom does, it would cost a minimum of $160,000 a year if you had to bring somebody in to do that for you. So breaking that down, we're chefs, we're taxi drivers, we're nurses, not to a full extent, but we're nurses, we're the caregivers, we are the laundry maids, or whatever it is, you name it, we do it. Yeah. And if you had to replace that, and the daycare providers, so if you had to replace
the event coordinators, I mean, there's managers at every level.
Exactly. We wear so many hats. So a lot of times when I'm sitting and I'm working with somebody who really feels they're not contributing because they may not be bringing home a paycheck, I have to remind them, like, are you serious? Like, literally serious. I recently had a pretty major health event and I was in the hospital for some time. My husband became, the cook, the laundry, taking care of the dogs, doing all that stuff. And he had a whole new appreciation for how much I did around the house. Now, all of our kids are grown, but still, you need to understand you are invaluable to your home, to your spouse, to your family. And I think that that's really important too, is understanding that you are freeing up your spouse's time which is kind of an investment, because if you're going to allow them to go out and work harder, work longer, do more things that could contribute to the household as a whole, then you're also making that available to them. But a common mistake that I see made is that either stay-at-home moms are not insured. They do not carry any life insurance because there's no income to replace, or they're underinsured. And that's scary. For me, somebody who deals with life insurance and looks at that and works with my clients with that, you need to make sure, again, if you pass away prematurely, and now here you are with a spouse and you have small children, a lot of responsibilities, how is that other spouse going to be able to afford to now bring in all of the people to replace what you did? So I say know your worth. Know your worth in the fact that you are completely priceless to your family, and you need to make sure that you are understanding that you have a need for life insurance. You have a need to be protected in the things that it is that you contribute to the house. And normally $500,000 term is always a place to start with somebody, especially if you have small children. It's just, and that's a conversation we can have offline if anybody's interested in getting any more information about life insurance. So know your worth is the second one.
That's a great tip, because we got to think at the end of the day, even if you're earning a paycheck or not, you're worth more than that dollar amount.
Oh yeah.
As intrinsically as a person. And so we have to remember that, and being that mom role and being like the child and knowing my mom, you could get 18 different people and nobody would replace them. So the worth is, you can't even put a number to. I mean, life insurance is great. We always push it, but even that doesn't bring anyone back. It just makes the situation a little easier.
It really doesn't.
So that's a great piece of advice. So what do you got for number 3?
So number 3 is just stay in the conversation. And I'm going to continue to say that over and over again, because even if you are in a partnership or you're in a marriage, you still have to stay independent. You still need to be aware of what I do with my clients is when I sit down with them, I nicely kill one of them off just in conversation, just to see what would happen, how they're stress testing really what their financial life looks like. Because you want to know. I want to know if my husband's no longer here, how is that going to affect me? Am I going to have enough money? And a lot of cases, people don't realize they lose a Social Security payment, a pension may end. It's just knowing all of these things before they happen. So when I say stay in the conversation, just means stay in the money conversation. And I know a lot of households divide chores, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with dividing money chores. You may have a situation where you are handling the family spending plan. People like that better than calling it a budget. Like budget's like a bad word. But if you have a family spending plan, and you maybe as the stay-at-home mom are the one that handles all the day-to-day, and maybe your spouse is the one that handles more of the investment profile or more of the big ticket items. I know if we're going to buy something big ticket, my husband will investigate it and just do all of his due diligence. And I'm like, listen, you just go and do that. You come back and tell me when we're ready to make a decision. But a lot of times you see households that divide the responsibilities, and that's okay. But it's very important that you stay in the conversation. And I encourage my clients to sit down at least once a month, over breakfast, over coffee. And if you have little ones, bring them up to the table too. Let them see that mom and dad are, they're sitting and they're having a conversation about money. They're talking about, teaching them things on how to spend money, things that they like, and I have very cool tips for how to get kids involved in the conversations too. But have an open dialogue. That's so important, because again, you could find yourself in a position to where spouse passes away, marriage dissolves, and here you are. And you don't know everything of what you have. You don't know the passwords. You don't know how to log online. I can't tell you how many times I've had to help women navigate through those situations because they just were not part of the conversation. A lot of times by choice, but there are also times where they're in a situation where one partner just kind of strongholds the whole thing. So I'm just telling you to sit down and have conversations, make them routine, and give visibility to other members of your family. It's okay for kids to be there. It's okay for teens to be there. They can just have the exposure to it. But I always tell my kids, you can have an opinion, but you don't have a say. So it's good to know that you can sit there and actively communicate in front of your family. That's very, very important.
That's a great piece of advice, especially if you have kids, to see like, oh, my parents talk about money openly and there's no yelling or there's no crying, or it's always, they always come out really excited, or, we are able to do these things rather than, versus when you were a kid and had different experiences with money. So you can kind of change that generational footprint of money and the way it affects your whole family, which is really empowering.
It is really empowering. And, you may be listening to this and saying, you know what? I haven't been in the conversation. By choice, I haven't been in the conversation. I'm too busy taking care of the family, doing the things that I need to do. I just haven't had those conversations with my spouse. Well, I'm telling you right now, grab a cup of coffee, sit at the table, and just start having the conversation. Just say, hey, I just want to make sure everything happens to you, that I know where everything is. I know how to continue on with our life and make sure that there's not any stress. And then if there is any stress, you're sitting down and you're coming up together with a solution before something, catastrophic happens. So that's very, very important. And again, if there's things that I can do to help you find icebreakers and things that you need to have conversations with, just please let me know. Number 4, stay independent.
Yes.
We've already kind of touched on this, but I encourage you. Now, some couples come and everything's divided. They have an account that handles everything in the household, big, future purchases they want to make, but they have individual accounts. There's nothing wrong with that. Where the issue falls is when you don't give transparency to each other. You don't have a financial transparency in your household as to where are things. Well, you have an account over here, but I have no idea what's in it. That's where you start having a little bit of an issue. And, outside of infidelity, the number one reason people, divorce is because of money issues. So you want to make sure that there is financial transparency, but you do have to keep a level of independence in your relationship. So again, you could have an account that's open that handles all the household things, that handles big ticket items, but you definitely need to have separate. If you don't currently have a savings account, open a savings account. You definitely should have at least one credit card, not a department store card, but a major credit card, just in case anything, you're traveling or something happens, or you do find yourself going through a divorce, or you do find yourself in a situation where you're separated. Because I see it a lot with divorces. The other spouse will just completely cut somebody off the card. They take them off the accounts, even though they're not supposed to do that. Happens every day. So understanding that you have that you're separate but together, but still a little separate. And, investigate a spousal IRA. I know you had somebody, I think Stephanie was on your Women and Money podcast. She talked about that. That is so important. Just because you're not earning money doesn't mean that you cannot contribute to things that you can use in the future. So it's very important to investigate the things that are out there and that are around. And then finally, just kind of, if you own your house, make sure that your name is on there too.
Yeah. Can I jump in real quick before? And the other one about staying independent, which I hear a lot of people don't always know, is that your credit score is individual. And so you have to keep up your own credit score as well, which I know sometimes people come out of the divorce and, the women might have a really low credit score causing more problems because you didn't keep it up. Because you didn't know. And, you don't know what you don't know. But that's also something that stays independent and you have to keep your eye on as well.
Well, and that's a great point. That's a great point. And there's a lot of times people don't realize that if you are a authorized purchaser or buyer on the card, that does elevate it as well. So if you're trying to figure out a way to kind of boost your credit a little bit, it's always good to be authorized at some point if you have a really low score, just to build yourself up, but make sure that you do have at least one credit card. Now, department store card's great, but if you have like a Walmart card or like a Target card and you go through a divorce, you can't really put attorney's fees on your Target card. So it's always important to make sure that you have like a major credit card and just use it, pay it off, show that you have, definitely a history of being able to be responsible. But again, stay independent because you never know what the future holds. That's just so important. And I can't stress it enough.
But yeah, this fifth point is also so important. So let's dive in there.
Yeah. So be productive and stay marketable. Now, some people are like, what is she talking about? They're not going to be little forever. Okay. My baby is 21. Okay. My oldest will be turning 32. They're not going to be little forever. And you're going to come to a point in your life where you are going to either need to work or really want to work. So when I say to stay marketable, if you had a career before you got married and before you decided to stay at home, you might want to stay relevant. Get on LinkedIn, do networking, stay in touch with colleagues, have a good relationship with where you maybe left. Try to make sure that you're staying up on things. And if it was in an industry that has a lot of changes, stay up on what those changes are. Or find something to do at home. If you're working with little ones, they nap a lot. So find things that you can do. I have stay-at-home moms who look at hobbies and now become bloggers, or they're doing recipe books, or they're doing, some work for skincare companies. Others are creating things on Etsy. Stay in the know. There's stuff that you can be doing. I use Upwork. I use Fiverr. I use companies like that do a lot of freelance. If you like to proofread, if you like to read in general, if you like to create spreadsheets, I hate that, but I've hired people to do that for me because I hate it. Just find ways that you can do that. If you become a freelancer, you can do that whenever you want. So just stay up on things. You know what I mean? It's so important.
Especially now with technology. It's running away. It's going, changing so fast. And so that's definitely one of those things you don't want to come in 10 years later and not be with the tech scene as well, because it's a lot to catch up on. And so I can see being out of the office or something, it's hard to always stay involved. But yeah, find what you also really love to dabble in as well, and kind of pick that path.
Well, there are people that, in my client family who started a little blog, just a little blog, and are, bringing in 5 figures a month. One is a travel blog. One is just literally talking about the struggles of mom life, just blogging away, and you just create a tribe of people that have the similar struggles and interests. And before you know it, you're doing something. Find something that you're already doing and then just add to it, and then find a way to monetize it. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do when you're still at home. But the big thing is, even though you are temporarily in a situation where you're removed what you feel from like the rest of the real world, you're really not. And you have a great opportunity. And I have a lot of moms that have a lot of side hustles that are doing a lot of things. So if there's anything that I can connect anybody to, by all means, please let me know. But I just really want to wrap it up by saying, you are truly priceless to your family, regardless of what you think and you're watching this. Don't underestimate the value that you add to your household, to your children, and don't devalue your worth as a woman. I mean, that is the biggest thing. Yeah. If you could take anything away from this, don't do that. Stay in the know with your family finances. Don't be afraid to ask questions and take control of your money. And along the way, if there's anything whatsoever that I can do, I'm here. So that's pretty much all I have to share for today.
It's a ton of great information, and I really appreciate it, because women are worth so much, and we have to keep recognizing that and reminding each other that we do carry so much worth. So I appreciate you, Jennifer, coming on today and sharing this information.
Absolutely.
If anyone has any questions or wants more resources or anything else, feel free to reach out to Jennifer. Her email is going through the bottom here. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals. So you can check her out on our site, pursestrings.co. I also know you're on all the social medias and everything else as well. You're everywhere.
I gotta stay relevant.
It's true. So yeah, thank you again for this great information. If anyone has questions about stay-at-home moms, reach out to Jennifer, reach out to Purse Strings. And we will be back here again next week with some more information. But this was great, sweet and concise. Can't add anything else. So thank you again.
Thanks, Maggie.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.